Have you ever, just stopped and thought about how weird it is that we have this whole me story going on in our heads? Like right now, you're listening to me, maybe thinking about, I don't know, what's for dinner, and then suddenly, bam! You're remembering that time you tripped in the cafeteria and everyone saw.
Right. It's wild how fast our brains can jump around like that, and all those little moments, the good, the bad, the embarrassing, they all get woven into this idea of who we are.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, how our brains use memory to create this sense of self. We're going deep on this one, folks. Neuroscience, case studies, the whole 9 yards.
And what we find is the self is way more complicated, way more constantly changing than we tend to think about.
Yeah, one thing that really jumped out to me was this idea of a core self versus the autobiographical self. Can you break that down for us? What's the difference?
Okay, so picture the core self as that really basic level of awareness. It's primal, right? Connected to your body, your immediate needs. Are you hungry? Are you tired? Do you need to find a bathroom like 5 minutes ago? It's all about right here, right now.
So less about who am I and more like what does my body need this second?
Exactly. The autobiographical self, on the other hand, that's built on memories, on the experiences you've had. It's the you that remembers your first crush, or that time you aced that test, or, those phases we all went through. Maybe some questionable fashion choices in there.
Oh, I have a whole photo album dedicated to those. But okay, so if the core self is so immediate, so fleeting, how does it lead to something as complex and enduring as the autobiographical self?
Think of it this way. Every single experience you have, every memory your brain latches onto, it's like adding a layer to a painting. The core self is the blank canvas, and each experience, each memory, that's another brushstroke. Over time, all those layers build on each other, and you get this richer, more detailed picture of you.
So it's not that the core self disappears, it's more like it's constantly being shaped and reshaped by everything we experience.
You got it. And here's the really wild part. Those experiences, those memories, they aren't always as fixed and unchanging as we might assume.
Hold on, are you saying our memories aren't like, perfectly preserved recordings, not like those old home videos we used to watch?
Not even close. It's more like this every time you try to access a memory. It's not like pulling a book off the shelf. It's more like, baking a cake. You've got the recipe, the basic ingredients, but each time you bake it, it might turn out a little different,
Okay, now that's an analogy I can get behind. So our mood, what we believe in this moment, that can all change how we remember something happening.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the studies you sent over, it used this phrase, reassessed and inevitably rearranged, to describe how memories work over time. Think about a time you and a friend, you were reminiscing about something you did together, and you remembered it so differently.
Oh, all the time. And I always just assumed I was the one who remembered it right. But if our memories are constantly being, what did you call it, rearranged, how does our brain even handle that? What part of our brain is trying to keep all those changing memories organized?
That's where things get really cool. There are these areas in the brain called divergence regions, or we can just call them CD regions.
CD regions? Whoa, hold up a sec. What are those exactly?
Imagine them like those busy intersections in a city, right? All the information from our senses, from different systems in our bodies, it all converges in these CD regions. Their job is to take all that data and make sense of it, figure out how it all fits together to create you.
So if our memories are like puzzle pieces scattered all over the place, CD regions are the ones trying to put the puzzle together.
Exactly. And there's one CD region in particular that seems to be calling the shots, the head honcho of this whole self-construction project.
So we've got these CD regions like directing traffic in our brains, trying to wrangle all our memories.
Yeah.
But you said there's one, like the main one, the one in charge.
Right. And we call it the posterior medial cortices, or PMCs. Easier to say.
PMCs. Okay, got it. So that's it, right? That's where all those detailed memories actually live, like the brain's memory bank.
Not quite. Think of the PMCs more like, the Master Librarian.
Oh, okay.
They don't hold the books themselves, but they know exactly where every single book lives in that giant library.
Right, yeah.
The PMCs, they get input from all over your senses, your emotions, your thoughts, everything, and then they use that information to be like, okay, that memory you're looking for, it's in this network over here.
So, like, if I'm trying to remember, say, my grandma's recipe for apple pie, the PMCs aren't going to suddenly make me smell cinnamon and sugar. They just point me in the right direction.
Precisely. They're the ultimate organizers, bringing all the pieces together so we have that sense of a continuous self.
And where are these PMCs? Are they like tucked away deep in the brain, really protected?
Good bet. Right at a major crossroads, getting input from everywhere. And yeah, they've got a great security system, robust blood supply, which tells us just how vital they are.
Makes sense, right? What they're doing is so important. And this is where it gets really wild for me. The idea that we can learn about something as big as the self by looking at what happens when things go wrong in the brain.
It's true. And, these cases, they can be so sensitive.
Yeah.
But they teach us so much. Like, take Alzheimer's disease. In the later stages, the PMCs are often damaged.
And Alzheimer's is just, it's heartbreaking watching someone lose their memories, their sense of who they are.
It is. And one of those studies you shared, it describes people in that later stage as shells. Just shells of the human beings they once were. And that, to me, is such a powerful illustration of this connection between memory, the PMCs, our very identity.
Makes you realize how precious, but also how fragile our memories are and our sense of self right along with them. But what about, the opposite? What about when the brain is fine, but the body can't respond, like locked-in syndrome?
Oh, that's a fascinating contrast.
Yeah.
Because people with locked-in syndrome, their sense of self can be completely intact.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They're trapped, can't move or speak, but their minds are going, their memories are vivid. So it seems like those PMCs, they're crucial for the autobiographical self, the story of our lives. But they're not the whole story.
So there's a difference between our core being, that basic sense of being conscious, and then all these rich memories that make us who we are.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this whole field, right? Every new study, every new case, it brings us a little bit closer to understanding this incredible thing we call the self.
It's like putting together this massive, intricate puzzle, and each memory is a piece.
Yeah, and we're still putting it together.
This was amazing. Seriously, my brain is buzzing right now.
It's been a pleasure. Really fascinating stuff.
And for everyone listening, take a minute. Think about your own memories, right? How have all those experiences, big and small, shaped who you are today?
Great question. Something to think about.
Absolutely. It's mind-blowing when you really consider the power of memory. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.